Hi, Ms. Nolte asked me if I could speak to you guys a little bit about how I use Achieve 3000. There's nothing really special that I do different, but let me go through some things first. The first thing I do when I use Achieve 3000 is I go to the admin settings on the upper right corner and I click on it. And what I do is I go into edit class information and then I select the code for any of the classes. So I'm just going to select this one here. And then what I do is I go to class collections on the bottom, and then normally the default settings for Achieve 3000, it has a bunch of different things already pre-selected for you. And what I tend to do is deselect them to make sure there's nothing selected on here. So if you scroll through it, you see that there's nothing selected. And then of course I just push submit. The reason why I do that is so that when I go to the home page, the only thing the kids see is the article that I assigned. So when the students go on to Achieve 3000, if you have all those pre-selected items there already, what's going to happen is that the students are going to see about 7 or 8 articles mixed in with the article that you assign. So therefore, the kids don't really know which one to select. And just like our kids, they'll click on the very first thing they see, and then there's added confusion that's unnecessary. So that's the one thing you can do to make things easier for yourself and also for your students. So one of the things that I do before I even start assigning articles is I walk through a bunch of articles and search through a bunch of articles that have to do with my content area. Now, one easy way, of course, is by clicking on your content area and see if there's articles already there for you that you can select. Most of you guys already know this already, so I don't have to walk you through that. But let's say if I just click on here and I see an article that I like. So let's say I just like this article. I click on the heart and add to my favorites. And what I tend to do after that, I select articles that I like. You can even type in certain subject keywords if you want. These are some of the searches that I've done before in the past. But if you go to the little hamburger menu on the upper left-hand corner, you click on my favorites. All of your favorite articles are already there. So that way you can simply just reuse them over and over again if you want to continue to use the same articles. I like to use these articles because they're content related, so therefore I just keep them there. So now I'm going to show you what I do in my class, and some of you guys may do this also, but let me just show you what I do. So here's my article that I assigned today. Okay, so I click on the lesson, and then I typically just do this toward like the end of class, maybe the last 15 to 20 minutes of class is where we assign the article and then we do the activities. Sometimes I do the before reading polls. Many times I don't because the articles I assign typically are content related. So these are just there to supplement my lesson. So I click on the article, and what I do is I go to the Lexile level, and what I'll do is I'll put it at somewhere about 780 to 880. The reason why I do that is because when I have the students read, I have them read from my monitor. So I zoom in by pressing Control plus sign. I zoom in a little bit, and then what I do is I highlight the areas that I want them to read. So I'll select the student, ask them to read out loud. I want to get to know what the students, how they read. I want to see how they read out loud. Gives me a better idea to understand what they're going through. So I'll ask a certain student, Jose, go ahead and read this paragraph for me. And then I just go through it, and I'll stop after any words that are difficult. So I'm just going to highlight one word, for example, here, expensive. If they find that word to be difficult, I click on the little menu on the side, on the left-hand side, I click on the book. Usually any word that you highlight, it'll give you a definition for, and also a way to pronounce the word. Expensive. So for like 99% of the words that you highlight on the article, it'll do that for you. It also has the pre-selected words as well with the definitions, and those are usually on the right-hand side of the article. But what I do is I go ahead and read with the kids. We read together. Some articles are 2 pages, so you got to make sure you read the second page as well. We read together, and it just simply adds to my content area. And then what I do is simply, after they read it with us, or we read it together, sorry, I ask them to go ahead and do the activity right afterwards. And usually this is done like the last 5 to 10 minutes of class. When they read the article, or they'll reread it, and then they'll do the activity, and that's usually their exit ticket to get out of class. I'll check that they finished it, um, and then they're allowed to leave class. If class is ending and starting the next class, of course, I just let them go, but they have to finish it for homework if they didn't finish on time. But I realize this is a better way of doing it, because if I assign it for work afterwards, they tend not to do it. Okay. So therefore, this becomes a little bit easier. And there's only 8 to 10 questions on the actual activity questions, so it's not very difficult. And at the same time, they have to do the activities. That's how they move ahead on their Lexile level. If they don't do the activity, then they don't get any credit for their Lexile level. They have to do 8 activities at 75% or above on their first attempt in order to move up on their Lexile level. So I tend to do about between 1 and 3 articles a week on my classes. But again, I always use them as supplements for my content that I'm already teaching in class. So I incorporate it as part of my lessons throughout the week. So I hope you guys start using Achieve 3000 in your classes. I know I find it of value. I hope you do as well. I've been using it on a regular basis for the last couple of years, and I have seen some improvements on my students' reading scores. So whenever you look at your student data, you'll start to see gradual improvements. Little by little, our students are improving the more and more they use the application. It's good for our students to read. I hope you find some way of incorporating it into your classes. I know you'll start to see better reading scores over time. We have to do whatever's possible to try and help our students improve. We know our students need the assistance, so if we all participate, it's better for our students and as a school in general. Thanks for listening. See you around.